Rory McIlroy reportedly confronted Brian Rolapp during a private meeting and delivered the accusation the PGA Tour's new leader could not comfortably ignore: "You're ruining golf." This was not another harmless disagreement over tee times or tournament hospitality. It was the Tour's most influential player challenging the executive, redesigning its competitive future. Apparently, asking Rory for honest feedback is like requesting a 3-foot putt and receiving a driver through the conference room window. What pushed McIlroy toward this confrontation? Which part of Rolapp's plan angered him? And could one private argument divide the PGA Tour before its 2028 overhaul even begins? Subscribe as we uncover the power struggle behind the polished announcements. Then decide, is Rolapp modernizing professional golf or dismantling the tour players spent decades building? The exact words spoken inside the reported meeting have not been confirmed through an official transcript. That matters because a dramatic quotation can compress an hour of disagreement into 5 explosive words. Yet the confrontation fits a genuine tension already visible in McIlroy's public comments and Rolapp's response. Rory has questioned whether the tour's planned structure risks overcorrecting after years of panic surrounding LIV Golf. Before the 2026 U.S. Open, he observed that the pre-LIV PGA Tour had actually functioned reasonably well. That was hardly a ringing endorsement of executives preparing the largest structural change in generations. Rolapp arrived from the NFL with a media executive's understanding of schedules, audiences, broadcast value, and commercial competition. His assignment was not to preserve every familiar feature. The approved plan beginning in 2028 creates a championship series and challenger series. The leading circuit is expected to feature top players across roughly 23 or 24 events, including 15 regular season tournaments, the Players' Championship, 4 majors, the Tour Championship, and a team competition depending on the calendar. Championship Series events are planned around 120 player fields, traditional 72-hole competition, and 36-hole cuts. The Challenger Series would run alongside it with larger fields, minimum purses, and pathways allowing players to earn promotion toward the elite level. On paper, this sounds organized. Stronger fields meet more often. Television receives recognizable stars, sponsors gain predictable inventory. Fans spend less time asking whether the best golfers have chosen to appear. Rolapp sees a cleaner product. McIlroy sees the danger hidden inside that cleanliness. Professional golf has never been valuable only because famous players meet repeatedly. Its credibility comes from access, the belief that performance can carry an unknown qualifier from the edge of the sport into a tournament where defeating stars changes a life. But here is what Rolapp's presentation cannot settle with another flowchart. Making the tour easier to sell may also make it harder to enter. That conflict defines the reported meeting. Rolapp's responsibility is to grow audiences and media revenue. Rory's concern is whether commercial efficiency begins replacing competitive merit. Both can sincerely believe they are protecting golf while advocating systems that lead in opposite directions. The Championship Series promises meritocracy through promotion and relegation. Perform well, remain among the elite. Struggle, risk falling. Rise through the Challenger Series, earn access. It borrows the emotional language of European football while preserving familiar stroke play tournaments. However, the unresolved details decide whether that promise is real. How many golfers will move between series? Which categories receive protection? What happens to injured players? Will former champions retain exemptions? Can sponsor invitations bypass performance? How quickly can an outsider reach the leading circuit? Those are not minor regulations to be completed later. They are the structure's moral foundation. A generous promotion pathway creates opportunity. A narrow doorway protects incumbents while using relegation language as decoration. McIlroy understands both sides because he occupies golf's safest possible position. As a global star and 6-time major champion, he is exactly the kind of player the Championship Series wants every week. He would benefit from concentrated purses, stronger fields, improved broadcasts, and schedules built around elite names. That makes his criticism more significant. Rory is not fighting to save his own place. He is questioning what happens to golfers without his URSM, influence, or commercial value. When the person most protected by a system warns that it may become too closed, executives should stop polishing the brochure and listen. Still, McIlroy's position contains contradictions. He has repeatedly supported tournaments where the best players compete more frequently. He helped develop TGL, a made-for-television team league built around star power, short matches, technology, and controlled presentation. Rory clearly understands that tradition alone cannot secure golf's future. He also manages his schedule carefully. In 2026, McIlroy was likely to finish one appearance below the PGA Tour's 15-event minimum, even if he completed all 3 playoff events. His global commitments, major focus, family priorities, and DP World Tour connection make a rigid American schedule difficult. That issue gave Rolapp leverage in any private conversation. Executives can reasonably ask why the tour should build its most valuable events around stars who sometimes skip them. Sponsors invest heavily. Broadcasters purchase rights. Tournament organizers need leading players to support the product. McIlroy reversed an earlier plan and entered the FedEx St. Jude Championship after conversations with Rolapp. Rory explained that playing supported the tour and helped maintain competitive rhythm across the 3-week postseason. The episode showed Rolapp could influence him without issuing public threats. It also exposed the deeper negotiation. Rolapp needs Rory's presence. Rory needs a tour flexible enough to respect his global career. Each man possesses leverage, and neither can completely impose his preferred future without damaging the institution both claim to defend. The reported words, "You're ruining golf," therefore carry a larger meaning. Rory is accusing Rolapp of treating players as programming, while Rolapp is asking stars to stop treating tournaments as optional. The tour's recent history explains why the temperature rose. LIV Golf launched in 2022 and recruited major champions through guaranteed contracts, enormous purses, shorter events, and a franchise model. The PGA Tour responded with elevated prize money, signature events, player equity, and schedule changes designed to keep stars together. Those reforms strengthened certain tournaments but widened divisions within the membership. Elite players gained lucrative limited field opportunities. Rank and file members worried that the tour was becoming a private neighborhood where established stars controlled the gate and everyone else paid property taxes. Rolapp inherited that suspicion. Although he did not create the original signature event system, his 2028 structure could make separation permanent. Championship and challenger labels sound cleaner than favored stars and surviving members, but labels do not eliminate hierarchy. Supporters argue that hierarchy already exists. Golf fans prefer watching McIlroy, Scottie Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, and other elite players contend. Media partners pay more for certainty. Sponsors cannot build campaigns around fields that remain unknown until entry deadlines. Their argument is blunt. The PGA Tour competes not only against LIV, but against football, basketball, streaming platforms, gaming, and every other claim on attention. If the product feels confusing or lacks star participation, audiences leave. Tradition receives no automatic exemption from market forces. Golf offers the opposite rhythm. Dozens of tournaments stretch across the year. Stars select schedules individually. Similar-looking events can possess dramatically different importance. Casual viewers may struggle to understand why one week deserves attention while another functions mainly as opportunity for emerging players. Rory's counterargument would begin with golf's individuality. Players are not franchises controlled by a central owner. They qualify through performance, manage their bodies, compete globally, and pursue 4 independently governed majors. Copying league sports too aggressively could strip golf of the freedom that makes it distinctive. The calendar presents another danger. If top players face expectations across 23 or 24 elite events, plus national team appearances and international commitments, the schedule becomes exhausting. Stars may arrive at majors depleted, or they may skip tour events and reopen the participation conflict Rolapp hoped to eliminate. McIlroy has already questioned compressed schedules. His priorities increasingly center on majors, family, and arriving mentally fresh. Forcing constant appearances might place more stars on television temporarily while reducing the quality of golf when history matters most. That creates wonderful corporate irony. Executives want every star every week because scarcity generates value, then schedule so much premium golf that nothing feels scarce. Apparently, the solution to viewer fatigue is another $20 million event wearing a very important tie. Here is the detail that could turn Rory's confrontation into a player revolt. Nobody knows whether the tour is rewarding excellence or simply protecting existing commercial power. Promotion numbers will answer that question. If many challenger players can rise annually, the system creates meaningful drama. If only a tiny group advances while protected categories shield famous veterans, the lower circuit risks becoming what McIlroy publicly called a glorified Corn Ferry Tour. That makes the reported private confrontation more believable as a serious disagreement rather than personal hatred. Rory often speaks bluntly. Rolapp is paid to hear strong opinions from valuable stakeholders. A heated meeting can occur between people who remain capable of cooperation. The danger begins if either side turns disagreement into a loyalty test. Rolapp cannot treat criticism as sabotage. McIlroy cannot imply that every structural change destroys golf. Productive reform requires both commercial evidence and player experience. Rank-and-file golfers need representation inside that process. Rory's fame gives him access, but he cannot speak for every member automatically. Some players may prefer clearer promotion and relegation over the current maze of status categories. Others may fear losing full tour access. Tournament sponsors also have legitimate interests. A shift toward championship and challenger events could determine which long-standing stops retain top fields, which move to the secondary track, and which disappear. Communities that supported the tour for decades may discover tradition carries less weight than broadcast strategy. Fans outside major American markets could lose access to elite competition. Concentrating leading events may improve television while shrinking geographic reach. The PGA Tour became powerful partly by bringing professional golf to different communities, not by transforming every week into the same traveling studio show. Rolapp must therefore prove that simplification does not become contraction. The Championship Series should elevate quality. The Challenger Series must retain dignity, meaningful stakes, and a credible path upward. Both need stories that viewers understand. McIlroy must explain his alternative. Saying the old tour worked fairly well is not enough. The pre-LIV structure contained weak fields, confusing priorities, slow broadcasts, and stars frequently separated. Nostalgia can identify what reform threatens, but it cannot replace a plan. Rory could advocate a lighter championship schedule, broader promotion, fewer protected categories, and guaranteed international windows. He could demand player approval for changes affecting access while supporting Rolapp's goals around stronger competition and clearer storytelling. That position would make him more than the angry star in a dramatic headline. It would transform the reported confrontation into constructive leadership. Golf does not need Rory merely to tell Rolapp he is wrong. It needs him to identify precisely where the structure fails and offer something better. Rolapp's response matters equally. He can hide behind committees, consultants, and market research, or he can publish the unresolved rules early and invite criticism. Transparency would reduce suspicion that executives are protecting preferred players behind private negotiations. The next rehook is unavoidable if Rolapp genuinely believes in meritocracy. He should have nothing to fear from showing every player exactly how promotion, relegation, exemptions, and access will work. Vague promises will not settle the fight. How many relegation places exist? Can an injured golfer preserve status? Do major champions receive lifetime protection? Will sponsor exemptions enter championship fields? What happens when a star finishes outside the qualifying line but still drives ratings? That final scenario will test the system brutally. Imagine a famous player failing competitively while an unknown challenger golfer earns promotion. If the tour bends rules to protect the star, Rory's warning becomes prophetic. Commercial preference would defeat merit at the first difficult decision. Conversely, strict relegation could remove recognizable players and reduce audience interest. Rolapp must balance competitive integrity with business reality. Every league does this through draft systems, salary rules, scheduling, or franchise protections. Golf's challenge is doing so without controlling independent athletes like club employees. The majors provide a useful boundary. Augusta National, the PGA of America, the USCA, and the RNA govern their championships separately. The PGA Tour can redesign its schedule, but it cannot make the championship series more historically important than the Masters, PGA Championship, U.S. Open, or Open Championship. McIlroy knows that power lies with legacy. His career is judged through major victories, not attendance at every premium tour event. Rolapp knows weekly golf pays the bills between those majors. Their disagreement reflects the sport's oldest tension. History creates meaning, while commerce funds the stage. Neither man is entirely wrong. Rory is right that golf can be damaged by closing pathways, exhausting stars, and discarding tournaments that built the tour. Rolapp is right that a confusing, diluted product cannot assume fans and sponsors will remain forever. The reported meeting becomes dangerous only if compromise fails. McIlroy can influence other top players, media narratives, sponsors, and fans. Rolapp controls executive planning, commercial strategy, and implementation. A public break between them would force members to choose sides before the rules are complete. Rory has invested too much credibility in the tour to walk away casually. He defended it during golf's civil war, served on its policy board, absorbed criticism, and later admitted the role exhausted him. That history explains why he might speak with unusual anger now. He believes he paid part of the price for keeping the institution together. Watching executives redesign it without addressing player concerns could feel like being asked to save the clubhouse and then discovering someone replaced the course while he was outside. So the final question is not whether Rory literally said, "You're ruining golf." It is whether Rolapp's plan can survive the substance behind that accusation. The answer depends on rules still being written. Broad promotion, fair relegation, reasonable schedules, respected challenger events, and limited protection would weaken Rory's case. Closed fields, excessive exemptions, compressed calendars, and sacrifice tournaments would strengthen it. Rolapp should welcome that test. Reform confident in its purpose does not fear scrutiny. Rory should also accept that preserving golf requires more than defending everything familiar. Both men must separate genuine principles from personal convenience. If they succeed, the confrontation may become productive. The tour could combine Rolapp's commercial discipline with McIlroy's understanding of players, history, and global competition. A difficult meeting would then mark the moment reform improved. If they fail, 2028 could divide professional golf again. This time, the conflict would not be PGA Tour against LIV. It would be the tour's stars against the executives claiming to build their future. Comment Rory if McIlroy is protecting golf, or Rolapp if modernization must come first. Subscribe as we track the private fight that could determine who controls the PGA Tour. Rory has delivered the warning. Rolapp now must prove he is rebuilding professional golf rather than making its most famous loyalist regret, helping save it for everyone involved.